so if anybody isn't available, then they can watch the replay. So welcome, welcome. Lovely to see you. So just a little bit of background for anybody who hasn't seen us before. Stroud Imagines has started basically in the first lockdown, actually. A group of us got together. We were inspired by Rob Hopkins' talk about his book, From What Is to What If. And he talks quite a lot about the power of collective imagination. And it was really inspiring to hear him speak and to see his book is filled with examples of real life projects that are happening around the world. And it's just really exciting and inspiring to see people doing amazing things in their local area. It really excited a lot of us. So there's a project in Bologna called a Civic Imagination Centre, where people are getting together and creating pacts, and they've created over 300 pacts between the local community, the local council, other stakeholders like schools, and other parts of the community getting together and making agreements to make their part of the world a better place. And we thought, what if we had something like that in Stroud? Wouldn't that be amazing if we could have something along those lines? Obviously, there's amazing projects already in Stroud, but we felt this was an opportunity to perhaps reach people that might not have otherwise been involved in things, and to take things a little bit further. We're entirely volunteer run, so a big thank you to all the people that are behind the scenes supporting and helping. It makes an absolutely massive difference. Every so often I have to just check and let people in, so my apologies if I look a little distracted every now and again. So a little bit of the housekeeping. If you could stay on mute unless you're speaking, that really helps with the sound quality. If you can have your camera on, that's amazing. It's really lovely for the people that are sharing to be able to see real people that they're speaking to. It makes a big difference. Active listening, if we can listen with love and respect. We have lots of different people sharing on lots of different topics, and you may not be interested in each one. That's absolutely fine, but if we can just respect different people's perspectives, that's amazing. It's fine to have children in the background. We've briefed all the people that are sharing to say that there are children around, so don't worry at all if you do have kids around. And we do record the session for people who can't attend this evening, and also for future publicity and promotion of Stroud Imagines and of the groups and sharers that come on. You'll see on the top right of your screen, you've usually got a speaker view or a gallery view. It's your choice to decide how you want to see the people. It may be you just want to focus on the speaker, or you may want to see everybody. It's up to you. There is a chat function, and Melanie is here this evening to support with the chat function. She's given a wave now. And Melanie can just text me if anything particular comes up that I need to know about during the session. We do check the sessions, check the comments afterwards if people want to find out about particular projects or offer support or information. We can do that after the event if we're not able to do it during the event. There's an opportunity for questions as we go through. So there's a little button where you can raise your hand to ask a question. If you click on at the bottom, you'll see a section called participants. If you click on that, you'll see an options button, and you'll see the options on the bottom row. And if you have an interest in a particular share that somebody has given this evening, by all means email us at stroudimagines@gmail.com if you want to get in touch with one of the projects. So just to remind you of those questions to ponder as you're watching. What inspires you about it? How could you support this person with this idea? Who do I know who could be interested, and how could I use it in my life? It's so many fascinating shares, and it was really interesting to see what we can do to support the people that are here this evening to grow and develop their ideas. So we have a lovely, lovely lineup this evening. It's really exciting to welcome these amazing people to be sharing today. We've got Sarah Dixon, what if we reimagined the Christmas festival? Obviously very timely right now. Joe McAndrews, what if our country was organised around the needs of our children? Joe's got such a wealth of experience, it's amazing to see. Looking forward to her share. Amanda can't be with us this evening, but she's written something that she'd like me to share with everybody, so I'll share that, a beautiful vision that Amanda has for Stroud. Andy Freeman's here. What if the beauty of Stroud landscape was appreciated for how it made us sustainable in energy as well as because of its appearance? And I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say. Once we've had those 4 shares, there's a space for question and answer, and there'll be time to give a quick update as well on some of the previous projects that we've had shares on in previous months. This is our 4th Stroud Imagine session, so we've got some updates that we can give on previous sessions. And we've got Jo, who's come along to talk about the Earth Protector communities and Earth Protector schools, so I'm really looking forward to hearing her session. Constantine is going to be sharing what if we convinced more farmers to go organic. We've got a short TED talk on diversity and inclusion, and Elizabeth Russell will be finishing up with what if Stroud had a goddess temple, which I'm very excited about. That's a really exciting possibility. And then just any other question and answer before we close. So I will just stop the sharing for a moment and just so we can all see each other. Hello, hello. It's lovely to see you all. Does that all make sense? Has anybody got any questions before we get started?
I only have to apologise because I've got to go before 8, so I'm not being rude, it's just I've got something else on. But
absolutely no worries at all. Thank you for letting us know. It is all recorded, so you're welcome to yeah, if you need to, that's absolutely fine. I'm just going to ask a couple of you to mute. There we go. Brilliant stuff. Okay, so can I hand over to Sarah Dixon for your share this evening on reimagining the Christmas festival?
Thank you, Charlie. It is Christmas time coming up, so I wanted to bring this idea that I've worked with for a couple of years now, and it's about reimagining Christmas. And I've often found I get frustrated by some of the problems of, you know, too much having to shop and so many tasks that it becomes very difficult to actually enjoy it. And I've been learning a lot in recent times about midwinter and how that's actually biologically a time for rest and hibernation, and yet we sort of end up seeming, especially now that I've got a child, it becomes a very frantic time of year. And that's okay for the adults to be designing the festival for the children to enjoy, but I wanted to reimagine. I'm an artist and I'm always reimagining things, so I love this Stroud Imagines because we get to see all those ideas put out in a small way. So I'd like to just touch on the fact that, you know, talking about collective imagination, what is there more of a collective imagination than the model of Father Christmas and the idea of Christmas and all the celebration that is put into it? And I was just walking down the street this evening and seeing how many people put up lights and trees with lights decorating and reindeer, and there are all these sort of collective imaginative things that are expressed so widely and so fully by so many people. And I just sometimes feel like I'd like to be able also to contribute to that and shift it around a bit. So if I could share my screen.
Yeah, by all means.
I will just show a little film of how I started this idea. It's very, very short. 1 minute.
I wonder if we've lost sound.
Is it due to have sound, Sarah?
Can you not hear sound?
No, we can't.
Oh. Okay, I don't know what to do about that. I can't see any settings or anything. I've got my sound on.
There's in audio settings, sometimes you get to choose,
Right.
or when in the screen share settings, sometimes you can use original computer sound.
Share computer sound. Here we go. Yes,
Or
thank you.
perhaps escape from
Hold
a
on.
circus.
I'll just have to. I'll go back to about there. Hold on. Right. So if I think I found the settings, more. Share computer sound. Yeah. Okay. Try again. If it doesn't work, we'll just move on. Can you hear? Hold on.
Yeah, we can hear.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Mother Christmas, here she comes. You know when you hear her shaker. She has so many pockets in her cloak. Pick a pocket. What is in there? Will you tell your fortune? Will you discover some mysterious gift? Who is she? Is she from Siberia? Is she a gypsy? Is she a quack? Or perhaps escaped from a circus? What's in her medicine tin? Pick a pocket, if you dare. What will you find in there?
So I invented this character, and I've now got a cloak. And what we do is we, in previous years, were able to have little workshops where the children would make little things that they could put in the pockets, and adults join in as well. And we have, you know, little things with sequins stuck on, or maybe in one of the pockets find something like a little bit of frankincense and myrrh, you know, which smells really lovely. And the idea really is like, it creates a way of giving and receiving, so there's a reciprocity. Unlike Father Christmas, who just gives. And the children contribute, the participants, people can take part and put the gifts in the pockets, and then Mother Christmas can go out and give them out to a different community, and it could be a kind of message from children to teachers or something like that. So it was just an invention. I've tried it out a couple of times. I don't know how to do it in COVID. I'm not sure if it's possible, or if there's some way of like quarantining objects before they get distributed or something. But yeah, I just wanted to share that and just give the sort of permission really that we can reinvent Christmas if we want to. So that was more or less
Amazing.
that.
Thank you so much for sharing. That's absolutely beautiful. And there's the shaker. Yeah. We will have time for questions. I know there will be questions and comments about it. Thank you so much for sharing. That was really fascinating. Yeah, I look forward to exploring that further. So I'm very pleased to welcome Jo.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm very lucky this evening to have a support and guest in Florence Barton. Florence, could you wave? So Florence is a young climate activist and dear friend and goddaughter of mine. She has many fantastic ideas and a lot of creativity around how the world could be better. So my talk is on so I'm just going to put my timer on. And I also want to ask you for a bit of audience participation. Because of this video malarkey, it would be really helpful for me if I say something that you think, oh yeah, interesting, could you wave, or any body language that just sort of joins in and shows that you're there and that you're enjoying what I'm saying. Thank you, yeah. So my question was, what if, I've forgotten that I said this country. I was thinking, what if the world was organised? I'm a bit ambitious, but what if this town, what if this country, what if this world was organised around children's needs? And I mean all children's needs. So I want to think about that. And I asked Florence to think about what would you like adults to know about what children need? So Florence, would you be willing to say what your thoughts are?
Okay. Okay. There's something quite special about children. They can understand things that adults can't sometimes. Children generally are more open-minded, whereas adults, they've grown up and they've got used to things being a certain way, so they kind of close their minds and they're not so good at listening and accepting. But children can also be more vulnerable to things like when parents push their own ideas onto them rather than letting them make their own path. That's not to say that we can't be strong. Adults need to listen to children and treat them equally to grown-ups. Children are just as important as adults. Parents need to give their children as much love as possible and to care what their children feel and need, and let the children have emotions. Let them cry and hold them when they cry, but give them space if they need it. And communication and listening is very important. Even babies can tell you what they need. You just have to be able to look and listen and feel.
Oh, Florence, if I'd given you a script, I couldn't have done nearly as well as that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. So what I want to say is to sort of add to that. What I'm going to be talking about is how children's needs are human needs. But as adults, many of us have forgotten what those are. And my belief is that if the world was organised around children's needs, that not only would children be happier, but also the whole world would be transformed. And I'm going to say why I think that. And we would be moving towards the capacity to sustain life on the planet, and to go in a different direction that would mean that we could live here for a lot longer. So what is it that children need? We could talk about that for definitely more than 7 minutes, but just to get really focused, there's some basic physical needs: water, air, food, shelter, and physical care. And I'm mentioning those because there are many children around the world who don't even have those. And I'm actually going to move on to talk about more emotional needs. But I just want to acknowledge that even water is not something guaranteed for many children. In fact, I found out today, looking at the UNICEF website, that every year 1.7 million children on this earth lose their lives to environmental factors. So it's a great privilege to be able to talk about love and the way that we could change things in Stroud. So just wanting to acknowledge that's the case. We are very fortunate to be able to talk about, I want to say more, I don't know what the word is, for more needs. So physical care needs, it's now recognised that that emotional needs are physical needs, that children's brains and bodies are created and patterned by the emotional and relationship needs that are fulfilled. And those emotional relationship needs are for the children to have the experience of I am safe, I belong, I'm loved, and I make sense. The world, the world understands me. And when we have those needs met, oh, I'm so enjoying seeing your hands, thank you. When we have those needs met, we're able to grow and thrive to our human potential. And those needs include strong and extended early dependency needs on loving, supportive, kind, responsive adults. You could call it empathic resonance. We need to be surrounded by that. And Sarah Payton, one of my favourite teachers, she puts it really beautifully. She says, every child needs to be looked at with soft eyes. So for me, that my imagination flies with that, because I think What does it take for an adult to have soft eyes? It takes them being resourced, supported, free of stress, having the capacity to love and be present with their child, to have the time to give them the things that Florence was talking about. Florence just said babies can communicate perfectly well what their needs are. You just need to listen and look. And the soft eyes are what gives the adult the capacity to do that. So I'm just aware of, oh God, time is zipping by. What would it look like? I want to get really specific, because I want us to take our imagination beyond what we've actually got. And I've just thought of some ideas. What if in Stroud we organised around children's needs? Okay, here's a few ideas. We would have a community kitchen in each neighbourhood, where we didn't have parents in separate houses desperately trying to sort out tea for their children. We'd have a community kitchen where everybody, including children and anyone else, would go and have a hot meal, sharing the cooking of it and sharing the eating of it. We would have parents who are well supported within wider families and communities. We would have more land given to play and community gathering than to cars or shops. We would have community use buildings that were free and easy to use, where people could gather, and they would be prioritised. We would have strong support services for mental and physical health and resilience. Sorry, I'll stop. And we would have, for example, a drop-in centre where any day you were struggling with your child and you thought, oh God, what do I do about this problem with eating, problem with sleeping? And you just turn up and there would be people there who would support and advise you. And we would have a house with many rooms looked after by various grandparentally people, kind, lovely people, where when families just couldn't cope anymore, they'd take the whole family and they'd go and stay in this house and be looked after and nurtured. Do you see what I mean? It's so different from what we've got right now. Now, why would we want to do that, apart from doesn't that sound nice and wouldn't everybody be happier? There's a much bigger picture. The roots of resilience are in childhood. The roots of individual resilience and the roots of community resilience and the roots of global resilience, they're there in our childhood. That's where we grow. When we have those needs met that I described, we develop adults who are creative, flexible, resourceful, clear thinking, cooperative, generous, empathic, imaginative, problem solving. Doesn't that sound like the sort of adults we need running our world at the moment? And the way that adults become like that is through having the sort of parenting that I've just described. So the reason I think it would be good to organise around the needs of children is because that organises around the needs of the earth. I've just got one more thing to say. Is that all right? If I can find my other page.
Please do.
So we would transform from, as Bell Hooks describes, a white supremacist capitalist patriarchy system into a global community friendly to all humans, all other life and beings, and the earth itself. We would find that if we treated all children with their needs met, that would build in equality from the very beginning. We'd no longer have to fight about gender equality, race equality, ability equality, any of that. It would be, we'd all have the capacity to see that that's obvious. And we would have the capacity and ability to focus everything on turning ourselves around and building sustainability and an earth that's going to survive long enough for 7 times 7 generations to enjoy it. So last thing, call to action. I haven't got a very specific project I want you to sign up for, but what I suggest is, what if we all started with every decision we make, every policy, every business, every law, any capacity we have influence, if we ask the question, how does this meet the needs of all the children on the earth? Thank you.
Just stunning, Jo, thank you.
Can I actually, I meant to ask Florence, who's going to read a quote. Can I just ask her to do that?
Yeah, please do.
Galloping over my time. But there's another, I said that Florence is a local activist. There's an indigenous activist in Brazil, a young woman called Artemisa Sacribia, and she says, Flo, could you read?
He says, I am a daughter of Mother Nature. Taking care of her is taking care of ourselves. We will take care of Mother Nature in order to protect us. We only exist because she still exists.
Thank you, darling.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jo. You are an absolute treasure for us to have in Stroud. Your wealth of knowledge and experience is amazing, and I'm sure there will be people who would like to ask you questions when we get to the questions bit. So thank you for sharing.
Thanks for the chance to talk about it.
It's a real privilege. I am always in awe of Stroud. The people that we have, the collective power that we have in Stroud is incredible, and it's so exciting to me to have people gathered together. It's really amazing. I'm going to do a quick share from Amanda Heyman. She's not available this evening and she sends her apologies. And so I said that I would just read out on her behalf. The 21st of December will be the end of 2020 at the time of the winter solstice. There will be a very rare alignment. Saturn and Jupiter will align to create a Christmas star. This will mark the end of an old era and the dawn of a new one. When Jupiter and Saturn come together, you will feel the intensity of old forms dying as well as new forms, ideas, manifestations beginning. The most sensitive of you have been feeling this density. Jupiter, and the largest planet in the solar system, viewed as the king of all other planets and also the planet of luck, will have a positive influence. Jupiter influences growth, expansion, healing, prosperity, and miracles. It governs travel, wealth, distribution, education, religion, the law, and our freedoms. Saturn is the second largest planet of the solar system and is the malefic taskmaster. It teaches us tough life lessons and doles out karma. This will be a time of many hard truths, personal and collective revelations. This will also be a time to receive the benefits of what you've sown, the investments you've put in to evolving yourself and your soul. Saturn affects your greatest dreams, your career, your personal achievements, your productivity, and your destiny. It affects the energies of ethics, civility, authority figures, stability, power structures, protective roles, balance, and conservation. When Saturn is aligned with Jupiter, this will mark the birth of a golden age. This will be a time when you begin to live in harmony with the natural rhythms of the earth, with each other, and with the planets around you. You will learn that everything in nature has a cycle. You will use the advancements in technology to create natural energy, packaging, clothes, and products that do no harm to the planet. You will learn about how to grow your own vegetables and fruits throughout each season. You will tune into the skies and they will entertain you with the changing landscapes of dusk and day, dawn and night. You will notice the planets adorning in the sky and the moon conducting the tides. You will learn about how the planet influences your mood and your destiny. Many of the problems that you experience today come from disconnection from the earth and your lack of knowledge of its natural cycles. Natural rhythms include waking up with the light and falling asleep by candlelight or under the stars, eating what's grown during each season, consuming fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds rather than meats and processed carbohydrates, exercise in the fresh air every day, not with the aim of exercise, but instead to connect with nature and enjoy her beauty and her serenity and her fragrances. Many of you are fearful and unhappy, and many of you ache with the pain of loss. Many of you do not have enough food to eat or a bed to sleep on. Many of you suffer with emotional and physical pain and do not have access to helpful remedies. This time is going to end. The light within you will be amplified and will send ripples of energy across the earth to reduce the dense energy. This old energy has created a civilization of misery and for many, and obscene privilege for a few. The earth's elements signifies a focus on material security and consolidation of resources that is resistant to change. The era of the air will bring disruption and established orders and dramatic changes to collective ideas and the way we communicate. The lightning bolts of Jupiter and Uranus will not only bring down old societal structures, but will also impel us to release old dreams and drama we've been attached to. There will be new challenges and unknown potential arising as we begin the new era of Saturn and Jupiter that we will need to make space for in our lives. During 2020, or what's left of it, ask yourself, what do you need to leave behind and what do you truly desire to carry forward? So I just want to thank Amanda for sharing what I thought was quite a positive perspective on a potential for Stroud going forward. And for our final speaker in this section, I'd like to welcome Andy Friedman. Hello, Andy.
Hello, thank you very much indeed for for welcoming me, and I'm delighted to be here. And this has got a little video in it, which I hope works. And I'm just going to talk about a project which has been going on already, and it's been going for a little while. But I wanted to say that this is really about the 3 H's. It's about head, hand, and heart. So it does connect our feelings and our heart and our intellectual with our practical and the hand. And you did read it before, but I'll just, okay, if I do the what if again, and it says, so it's a bit complicated. What if the beauty of the Stroud landscape was appreciated for how it made us sustainable in energy, as well as because of its appearance? So during lockdown, exploring the local area on foot became very much more popular than it had before. And a number of people, I think, reflected more than perhaps the past on the beauty of their natural surroundings, especially in a time when people perhaps saw more wildlife and there was less traffic and pollution. So that was one of the kind of weird gifts of this difficult time. The project I'm referring to is called Sharing Our Views. It's a kind of play on words, and it's a project which invites the people of Stroud or of the area around Stroud to consider these 2 things. So how might more sustainable energy be produced in our area in the future? And also, what might that mean, that producing sustainable energy, what might that mean for our surrounding countryside? And as we move towards the Stroud District Council's target of being carbon neutral by 2030, which I think lots of people go, well, that's great, but what might that mean for perhaps for our landscape? For many, the beauty of our landscape is it's a source of pleasure, but also of nourishment. It's kind of more than just kind of something that's nice. I mean, we do live, we're surrounded by an area of outstanding natural beauty, but it hasn't always looked like this, because I mean, I think lots of us know that those hills were once wooded before the sheep came. That's maybe a couple of 100 years ago. So things have changed slowly. Those lovely hills were, they weren't grazed, they were woods. And some of those mills that we have as part of our heritage, some of which are kind of listed buildings, I guess once they would have been modern and ugly and new and an intrusion. So things change. So is there a balance that we need to think about between a beautiful landscape and, for example, having 5 big wind turbines on the hills around Stroud, which would bring us half the energy that we use? Now, Alan Mossman actually came up with this idea a couple of years ago. So, would that be terrible? Would that be exciting? Could these turbines be seen as beautiful? Well, they'd be beautiful because they'd be generating sustainable energy for the community. People don't, aesthetically, but actually, what is beauty anyway? So these are some of the questions we're looking at. Sharing Our Views as a project is, in future, we're working with groups of people already, and we invite everyone here and any groups that you're connected with to join us and literally share your views. This is a topic which I think it's obviously really important to us, but the more that people are engaged in this, the better. because the last thing I think we want is something to be imposed on us from the outside. So there's well, you might also do public events after this is over, film screenings, and maybe just kind of an exhibition of we're interested in walks as well, and getting people to take us on walks. Sharingourviews.com, and please email us at sharingourviews@gmail.com. Now you're going to see an extract of a 10-minute film. This is about 2 minutes, and it's about the future of the landscape in the Five Valleys as we aim to produce more sustainable energy and move towards that target of being carbon neutral by 2030. Now I'm just going to do the screen share thing, which is okay, so it's not looking too bad. Okay, you just gonna have to move this up there, and I'm just gonna play about 2 minutes of this video.
I think it makes sense when we've got the resources available. It doesn't make sense to keep something pretty when the world is just going to die because of it. Like, it makes more sense to put windmills on a hill so that we can survive for the future. You'll still be able to see the hill, you're not going to destroy the hill. To me, it just makes sense.
I think we've got to face it that the old economy is dying. Well, I don't know, eco-economy, if there is such a thing, is the new future for everything.
And do you feel that that's particularly relevant for Stroud because of its industrial history and use of water power?
Well, it's proven that it worked, because they didn't build all those buildings for nothing, did they? And they weren't, most of them weren't steam engines, most of them were water.
Yeah,
no, it just makes complete sense.
Because Stroud's history has been built on water and energy from water, surely that's something to look at first.
Well, I mean, you're talking about Stroud's history with mills. History isn't static. History is always changing. There was a time without mills, and maybe they would have been considered an eyesore at the time. And I think we have to consider the importance of creating more sustainable energy.
Funny enough, I've always thought of that. It's all that energy, which had given us the industry and our wealth.
Yeah, exactly.
Not being put to good use. There's one right outside Stroud District council buildings, and they turned it down for some reason. I don't know why.
I can see no problem with it. One windmill here and there won't affect anything around the area. If you were proposing to put 20 in one place, no, I would probably object strongly. But an odd one dotted around, and it will produce power for the area. No problems with it at all.
I don't like windmills. I think they're unsightly. Although I'm very green myself, I don't think windmills are the answer.
I think for the small sacrifice, for the sight of it, I think it would make a massive impact on our environment, so that would be a good thing.
What do you think your neighbours are going to think?
Some will probably object strongly because they don't like the one at Nymphsfield. Others will be all for it. So I'm afraid you're going to get a 50-50 split around my neighbours. Some people don't like how they look. I think they look really beautiful.
I think it's a good proposal to increase the renewable energy, but to have it in a place that would spoil the natural beauty, I wouldn't be in agreement with.
Just stop there. Hello again. And so we're looking to get a range of views. I suppose one of the things is that by people being engaged in the conversation, then the decisions and the power is in our hands rather than in the hands of some other people. Whoops, are we still there? Can you see me all right?
Yep.
I just pressed the wrong button. So the question, what's the value of landscape? And what makes a beautiful view? And how do we become more sustainable in energy? These questions are different, but they are terribly connected. There's a phrase or word we made up, which is, should Stroud be YIMBY? So not NIMBY, but yes, in my backyard, should Stroud be thinking about taking steps before something from outside is imposed on us? In this project, we'd welcome a wide range of views from a wide range of Stroud residents, sharing their views about energy, landscape, and about the future. And right there, I think I'm going to stop. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy. Very appreciated. Thank you for sharing. So we've got some time for some questions. So if anybody has any questions or comments or thoughts or anything you'd like to express that relate to those four sharers, that would be wonderful. So anything for Joe, Sarah, Andy or Amanda. You're welcome to physically raise your hand, or if you would like to, you can use the computer, the Zoom function to raise your hand. Liz.
I've got a comment for Andy. I appreciate this is slightly different, but I used to live on the north coast of Kent. They now have probably, it's at least 3 tiers. And gosh, I don't know how many long, must be on 50 odd at least. And once we began to get used to them, they actually look beautiful. The sun shines on them, and we often just stand there and just look at them. And on Romney Marsh, there was a lot of protest, particularly about birds going through them. But actually, once after a few months, that doesn't happen now.
Thank you for sharing, Liz.
Can I respond and say that's exactly the kind of, we'd like to get a whole range, if people are out there with their feelings and their thoughts like that, that's great for someone else who feels differently to hear. I think the more we listen to each other, that's the way we can build a consensus. But also the bird thing, I've heard that there's high buildings with glass windows are more lethal to birds than wind turbines, I hear.
Interesting. Thank you. Any other questions?
Andy, would you be able to put your link to your organisation in the chat?
Yeah.
And we can forward, if anybody wants to get in touch, we can forward their contact details to Andy if you'd like to. Nick, did you have your hand up? And then Sarah.
Thank you. In response to Joe's lovely talk, I was just thinking a lot recently about the high street and how we need to reimagine the high street and the amount of buildings that are empty now. I'm quite interested in what you think about contacting business owners, not business owners, people that are managing the spaces, because I used to work for a theatre company that took over disused buildings, so they just wanted someone there to pay the heating, you know, or not even that, just a presence there to look after the building, and whether we could use some of the buildings that are not in use at the moment in our high street, because I know the Trinity Rooms is becoming a hub now, but in a way that's kind of out of the way for some people. And I was just thinking how amazing it would be to have a really good high street hub for some of the ideas you're talking about, Joe. That was it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. That's a fantastic idea. Yeah, yes. Wouldn't it be amazing to have somewhere that people could drop in without having to buy anything? Not even a coffee or anything, just where there could be space for people to gather, to learn, to support each other, to cook. It'd be amazing. Yeah. It's having a venue, having a place is so vital, isn't it? So much because of our land ownership culture, everything is owned and has to make a profit. Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, let's do that.
Sarah, you had your hand up. Sarah Dixon, sorry, I don't know, we've got 2 Sarahs.
Thanks. I just wanted to, I put it in the chat, but I just wanted to feed into what Andy's saying and to raise awareness that there's a carbon neutral map for Stroud, and it is alive, but it's going to be developed further. So it's in a very early stage, but there are projects in there and you could add yours and kind of network and hook up with other people working towards that same goal for the area. So just wanted to tag that a little bit and sort of pad that out.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a really good point, Sarah. And a question from another Sarah as well.
So I've been, it's a question for Joe. I've been thinking about what you've been thinking about for quite some time. And firstly, in reference to people experiencing homelessness, but also I work in Barn and Treadworth currently as their community development worker, and I'm there till the end of the year. But so I'm interested in how we might get our local agencies interested in this idea. Really, I could talk to you for hours about it. Really interested.
Thank you for sharing.
May I respond?
Yeah, please do.
So thank you for doing that job. Fantastic. What a great job title as well. And I think what I find exciting at the moment is that the research, the scientific research that backs up all the things that we know about what children need, and the fact that humans are deeply, utterly relational people. We are wired for culture, if you like. We're born expecting community. That's all mainstream and available. It's like after all the years we've all been fighting, because we've all been struggling because people say, oh, feelings and relationships, it's all arty-farty, flaky stuff. Now the science is backing it up. So for trying to persuade people, for getting agencies together, there's a really coherent narrative to back it up.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's talk for hours about it, Sarah.
Yeah, let's do that.
Andy, you've got your hand up.
Thank you. I wanted to follow up what Joe was saying just then, and about, well, children are so important because they will be, they help to shape society. And the point you just made about feelings, and this is a slightly political point, is that people's ability to empathize, to feel compassion, and to recognize those feelings is essential, for example, for leaders. And I worry that what's happening at the moment is that if you were, as a child, taken away from your family and made to kind of repress your feelings, I'm talking about public schools here in the main, at the age of kind of 7 years old, that qualifies you very, very badly to be a future leader and to empathize with the people that you're apparently leading, and that we need people that are, I mean, I would say sort of, very emotionally literate, but are actually kind of in contact with and understand how people work. Because I think some of our problems at the moment are because we're having people in positions of power who are kind of exceptionally lacking in that department.
It's a really interesting point, Andy. Yeah.
Totally agree. And there's some research on that, calls it privileged abandonment syndrome. Really broken attachments, which yes, are really at the root of as you say, complete lack of empathy, and with our current system qualifies you perfectly for running the country. It'd be good to change that, wouldn't it? And if we did put children's needs first, that would change. Yeah.
It made me think about we have kind of audits when it comes to decision making, or we have checklists for diversity in relation to race, in relation to disability, and it's certainly something that we've talked about within Stroud Imagines. But wouldn't it be interesting to include children's perspectives in those kinds of reviews of decision making? That's made me think a little bit more about our Stroud Imagines setup and how we can include that. I mean, we do work to include young people in sessions, and it's fantastic that's managed to happen today. Thank you, Flo, for being here. But yeah, it just made me think that would be another way of being able to make sure that children were considered in strategy kind of decisions, really.
Yeah, talk about marginalised voices. So we have such a blind spot that children are, you know, it's still legal to hit children in this country.
Mm.
You know, no, it's not legal to do that to any adult. It's like there's so many blind spots about children, the way we treat children as not even second-class citizens, just not even citizens. They're like belongings of the adults around them. And so many of our customs and behaviours, punishments and detentions, and all this, yeah. So let's include them. Let's support children's rights.
Wonderful, thank you. Really appreciate that. We've got time for one more question, Liz, and then we will move on to our next set of speakers.
It also reminded me of something I put on Stroud Magazine a few weeks back, where they are linking the elderly with, terrible word, orphans, but at least kids in care, and how well that was working. So the need actually goes both ways. I thought that was in there somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. That intergenerational aspect is really key. Thank you, Liz. Yeah, I appreciate that. Okay, thank you all very much. So we've got our second sort of set of speakers, and we've just taken a little bit longer. I think we may be missing a speaker for the second set, so we may have a slightly shorter set for this part. But I'm very pleased to be able to welcome Jo. Jo, would you like to share on ecocide?
Yeah, thank you. So as probably nearly everybody here will know, that 18 months ago a great light in our community passed in the form of Polly Higgins, who'd done great work and who had so much support and was so charismatic and well loved. And as a result of that, quite a few of us, convened by Anita, who worked very closely with Polly, we had a meeting, and out of that really basically came Earth Protector Communities, which is a sister charity now to Stop Ecocide. And our really the Stop Ecocide work is it's very high. It's working at the highest level of diplomacy and the international level. What we're doing is wanting to shape things and work with people at a grassroots level, at a community level. And so we're still in the pilot project, so we're still kind of honing and refining our messaging and our ask. And so what we've come up with, originally we had a declaration which we wanted all town councils and all businesses and schools to kind of, were encouraging them to sign up to. And through a kind of a process of trial and error, we've kind of discovered that because of where we're at as a collective, we're all kind of in this together, and we're all part of the system that we don't like and that we so want to change. So in order to make it sort of very accessible, and also, all of us want to very much be a unifying force, because this is what we need, isn't it? I mean, I loved all of the ideas. Sarah, your Christmas idea, I'm totally with. And Jo, of course, that's essential. The vision was great. I'm tapping into all of that. And Andy, the practical changes at the ground level are so needed. So what I'll do, because I don't want to run out of time, and I'm not very good at the tech. So I'm afraid I'll just have to read through our pledges that we've recently come up with. So our mission statement is Earth Protector communities exist to stimulate regenerative local action so that we accelerate the shift to a thriving world without ecocide and support communities on the path to resilience. So that's what we're aiming to do. And then we've come up with a number of pledges that we would love all organisations in Stroud, all schools, all businesses, everybody basically to sign up to. And I'll read them to you. And it, you know, this is, it's something actually that we've very, very recently kind of agreed between us after a lot of discussion. So if there's anything glaring that anybody kind of is, you know, jars, please let us know, because the point of it is to be something that, you know, everybody will see and think, well, yeah, I agree with that, and so forth. So I'll read through them. The first one: we pledge to support the campaign for the international law of ecocide and to acknowledge and protect the rights of nature. We will work together using our skills and wisdom with kindness and generosity to restore health to ourselves, our local ecosystems, and our communities. Of course, you know, Earth Protector Communities has been our Trojan horse. So our way of encouraging organisations and schools to support the Stop Ecocide campaign. Because especially for young people, I sort of think, well, you know, this is a solution. It's not a cure-all. Of course, it's not a cure-all, but it's a damn good start towards the sort of world that we want to create. So that's why that's top. And also, you know, there's so much been happening with Polly's visionary work. Thankfully, Jojo has very capably taken that forwards. And there's people like Philip Sands, who was responsible for one of the people who developed the, you know, the international laws against genocide and so forth. And he's actually advocating for the law against ecocide. And at an event last, I think it was, yeah, it was last week, he actually came out and said we need to enshrine in law ecocentrism. We need to move away from anthropocentrism, I think that's the right word, to be ecocentric. And that was so such a solace to my heart, to be honest, and such music to my ears, because this is what's needed. And that's why that's the first, you know, the top of the list, the first pledge, alongside, if you notice, the care for ourselves, because we all know, and Polly knew herself, because she talked about taking, you know, inner ecocides. We need to take care of our own inner ecocides before we can function at our most effective with everyone else. So you know, all that is acknowledging that we're all part of this net web of life, and we all need to take care of each other to be really hippie about it, but you know, that's the age. So the second pledge, there's 5. We pledge to move away from harmful industrial practices that damage the earth to a circular economy that minimises waste and supports local abundance, and to divest from fossil fuels, aiming to achieve carbon neutrality by 2030. So obviously the economy is huge, and it's a huge part of the block actually that has created this sort of structure that we've got now. And I'm sure quite I don't know, perhaps some of you will have heard of oh God, it's just gone out of my head. The circular economy, Kate Raworth, who developed the circular economy, and which actually, you know, Amsterdam is in the process of adopting and looking at. So we can change things. You know, there are other models, and the more we can do this locally, with the engagement of local businesses, you know, the better for us, and this is what we, you know, we really hope to encourage. I mean, we're a small group of people, so we can't, obviously we can't dictate. The idea of the pledge is it's an invitation, and also, you know, if businesses sign up to this, then the ball is in their court. You know, and there are lots of organisations that are providing resources like Bioregional and so many others. So to me, it's like actually the new skin for the new way of doing things is grown at grassroots level. There are so many organisations across the world that are doing amazing things. And it's just that the old has to dissolve to allow that to come through. Now, I think you'll all...
Jo, I'm sorry, just to say we've got another minute or so, I'm afraid.
Okay, all right, I'll very quickly speed through them. The third one, the third pledge is we pledge to respect and protect the interests of future generations in all our decision making. So, you know, this is the piece that's been missing, hasn't it? I mean, it's crazy, really, that we, and like you said, Jo, we need to be thinking of that seventh generation. I would like to say about a scheme of work that I've been involved in. There's lots I want to say about Earth Protector Schools, but there isn't time. But this scheme of work I've been involved in is available now for state schools to slot into their citizenship and PSHE curriculum from primary to secondary, from age 5 years to 18 years. And it's about equality and justice, and it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of work that will enable young people to negotiate the current times with compassion and thoughtfulness and skill rather than reactfulness. So last two pledges. Pledge number 4, we pledge to step up, speak up and stand up, to choose cooperation over competition, to choose unity over separation, and to enshrine the principles of citizen participation, valuing the diversity of our human family. And then the last one, we pledge to support and empower creativity and imagination, and commit to a duty of care for all life that seeks to create peace between all beings.
Beautiful.
We hope you'd all be happy with signing up for that.
So could I just check, are you hoping for individuals to sign up as well as businesses and
yeah, yes, they can.
Groups and in any groups?
Yeah, any community groups, any climate action groups, any businesses, schools, we hope, health organisations. You know, it's a start, it's a step towards where we want to go collectively, it's to be hoped.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for sharing, Jo. And it might be interesting to perhaps come back another time to speak in a bit more detail about the schools.
Yeah,
might be worth separating it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Thank you. There will be chance for questions at the end. I just wanted to check if we have Constantine here today.
Thanks, Jo, for that. Jo's just put a link in the chat. So
oh, fantastic. I don't think we do have Constantine today, in which case I'm going to move over to Elizabeth, to Bliss. To our final speaker for today to talk about Stroud Goddess Temple.
Thank you so much.
I feel so honoured to be invited here, and I love hearing all of these ideas. You're all so wise, and you're all full of so many amazing wisdoms, and yeah, it's just inspiring. So you'll have to excuse me if I'm a little bit tired. I might repeat myself, but I thought what would be so lovely to share with you would be our progress with the project. So I know many of you attended the visioning that we held at Imolc in 2019, which seems like such a long time ago now. So since then, we have created several ceremonies as a group. We have gathered a large number of members of the local community in Stroud. I can definitely say that the project to create a temple to the Divine Feminine in Stroud is very much wanted, and many people have contributed their ideas, their energy, and more recently we've had people sign up to become regular donors to the project. So we're building up a kitty now, and it's really exciting because, you know, from coming to a point of having a vision, dreaming something in, and then sharing that idea with other people, to actually seeing something concrete develop out of it, it's just been really amazing for me, and I'm so, you know, thrilled because it's something that I carry in my heart, and I always have a wish to bring this safe, sacred space just to be into being. And I think this is really, for me, what I see as being the magic of a temple, and the reason why I've traveled around the world visiting these ancient goddess temples has been to find that space of pure potential. There's something about stepping into a space that has been prayed in and has been made sacred by many people for years. There's an energy, there's an emanation of power that is in these sacred spaces, and it's something that there was a temple to the goddess in Uli, so there was a temple to Venus in Roman times. That's probably the most recent goddess temple that we've had in this area. But what I really wanted to share with you, because I know I only have a few minutes, is the most recent visioning. So the members of our current Weavers Committee, so we have a group of 13 of us, and it's been great because people have really stepped up to take responsibility for different aspects of the project. So I can just focus on dreaming, which is really my gift. So the people, when we had a share and people talked about how they envisaged this temple coming to Stroud, the things that were shared in our circle were about having gathering space to share spiritual ideas and to co-create events, to have opportunities for women to come together, for men to come together, and to have circles where everyone in our community, of any gender, of any orientation, of any socio-economic background, of any belief system, to be welcomed into a space where everyone was accepted and everyone had the opportunity to shine their gifts. So the temple would be a seedbed, really, for this community engagement, as well as a place for contemplation and prayer and honouring beauty. Other people talked about how they wanted to see the creation of artworks and skill sharing, so local people within the community could come and display their crafts or share their skills with others in this safe setting. some members of our Weavers group talked about how they were so excited to be bringing back the knowledge of our local deities. So within the Stroud area and around the Cotswolds, we have several ancient goddesses who, you know, their names, they might be spoken, but wouldn't it be wonderful for us to know the stories of Sabrina, of Hafren, who is the River Severn, of Goda, Kuda, who is the lady of the land, the mother of the Cotswolds, Goda's Wolds. And, you know, for myself, to bring through the stories of Ellen of the Trackways, of the hidden forests, of the trods of the deer that we follow through these landscapes, and the ancient nomadic people of these islands, and of the Northern European migrating tribal peoples, you know, from when this land was connected through Doggerland to the continent of Europe. So there's so much more I want to share with you, but it is happening, and we've managed to raise more than £500 now. So we're having another Weavers meeting tomorrow, and we're going to be discussing possibilities for how we can bring a physical space into being in the new year. So it's so close, we're so close. And I just want to really celebrate Open House, and to tell you about the fact that the space we had appointed and we're hoping to take on is actually going to be an extreme winter weather shelter for homeless people. So this is wonderful news, and it's something that I've been praying and dreaming in over the past few weeks, was to have a space for these people who we're seeing sleeping on the streets of Stroud. So actually, when we had the news, I couldn't be more happy about the fact that that space was going to be turned into that. So that is something worth celebrating. Meanwhile, we are going back to being a dream, but this time we're a dream that sat on a big wad of money. So it's going to be happening. I think that's all that I want to say about it, really, and just to thank all of you who've been a part of the journey. I see your faces in this circle, and it is magic. I think in Stroud, there's something about the co-creation and the collaboration and the exchange and the sharing of ideas that really gets things moving. And, you know, way back many years ago, when I was part of the transition movement in Chepstow, I think you've carried that seed of inspiration through, and there's so many projects happening in Stroud, as well as the Transition Towns movement. So much is happening, and every single day I just feel like I'm so proud that this is where I've moved, and this is where I've now settled myself over these past 5 years. So I just want to honour all of you.
Thank you. Lots of agreement. Thank you so much for sharing. So we've got some space. If you've got any questions for any of the speakers that we've had this evening, if there's anything for Joe or for Bliss, or for any of the other speakers that we've had previously, we've got some open space to ask any questions or make any comments.
Well, oh, sorry. I didn't put my hand up. How rude of me. Sorry.
Do carry on.
I was just going to think about what Nick, you said actually to Joe about the empty shops, and, you know, thinking about you, Bliss, with the wondering about that really. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
If anyone's got any ideas, please feel free to throw them into the pot.
Nick, you had your hand up.
This Nick here, this one, he just said he's got a list of empty shops. I think he's compiling and, you know, conspiring to take over one. So, you know, be in touch. Can I just ask Joe, what schools locally have signed up for? I can't remember the name. But
Earth Protector schools. Well, we've got one primary school who were very keen to step in, who are very keen to step into this, and we have dialogue with secondary schools and Wycliffe was interested, and also the Acorn School. So, you know, it's a process. I mean, we you know, at the start of the year, we sent out letters to all the local primary schools about an exhibition, Dreaming the Future into Being, that you know, we wanted to put on, but obviously the COVID kind of did for so much, and has also, you know, put the plans for our primary school on hold. So I mean, they, you know, that school, every member of staff and child was going to sign up as an earth protector, which I never in my dreams thought would happen. So that was like, oh my, you know, that was amazing. The pledge will make it a lot easier, because it's not, and that wasn't something we kind of asked, that they volunteered that. So I hope that will still happen. But you know, it's a slow process, but I'm very pleased we've got one state primary school, because I hope, you know, with one, then others will follow. And obviously, if you know any parents or have any connections, then you know, that's usually how that happened, was because of a very proactive parent that I met when I was doing a stand during summer, and they invited me to come and speak during their Earth Week. So that's how it happened. So always a warm connection is really helpful.
It's good to know, Jo, thank you.
Oh, I've put myself.
Sarah Dixon, you had your hand up.
Just very briefly, I wanted to remind everyone that SVA has worked with empty shops a lot in the past, and they may well be good people to talk to about finding a way into that as well. But it is an ongoing issue. But loads of the things in Stroud imagines is, where do people go? Where's going to be the space? So it seems like a perennial problem.
Absolutely. Any other questions or comments? Tom?
Hi, yeah, so just to Bliss, just with the title of a goddess temple, that brings up in my mind the idea that it's kind of quite a feminine space. I know you wanted it, in your description, you said you wanted it to be inclusive of all people, men and women. So is that something that you feel would potentially give the wrong impression to people?
Well, that is a common misconception about the goddess spirituality and the goddess movement. So goddess is for everyone, and feminism is also for everyone. So it's about lifting everyone up and enabling everyone in our community to shine their gifts. So I shared a quote from Starhawk today, actually, which really sums up a lot of my view and how we hope to bring the temple into Stroud. So the quote was, "Goddess doesn't rule the world, Goddess is the world." So everything that exists is a part of her. And whether you identify as being masculine or feminine, it's come through from this source of divinity, which we choose to name as being goddess. But, you know, every type of spirituality and every type of person is really welcome into the arms of her, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Any other questions or comments? Flo, did you have your hand up?
Yes.
Aha.
I want to say to Jo Kimber, I've wanted to be an earth protector, but it's confusing, just like paying online and stuff. And but if there's a way, that would be really great. And also, I'm really interested in the Earth Protector Schools thing. So how could I like get my school to sign up?
Thanks, Flo. That's great. Well, I mean, the first step is you, I think, perhaps speaking to your teacher or your classmates, and which I'm sure you'd be very good at, and encourage, stimulating interest, and then, I mean, you could give a talk about it. I was going to say you could ask if I could come in and give a talk, but you could give a talk about it, because, on the Stop Ecocide website, there's a free downloadable kind of, or actually I could share a PowerPoint with you that's adapted to, primary school. So you could actually give a talk and ask if that would be okay. I'll ask about the the young people signing up as Earth Protector communities. I know that that is, we hope, is going to happen at Busage School. So it's just a matter of having an email address, I think. So yeah, has that been helpful?
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
I can put you both in contact with each other if you'd like to have a chat about it further. That sounds like you've got a good ambassador there, Jo, to help you into into another school.
It always helps, doesn't it?
Isn't that amazing? Yeah, fantastic. Flo would be amazing.
I have to say, I don't know if any of you tapped into the mock COP 26. Did you see? That was run by young people. So the COP climate change talks were meant to happen, but they've been put off because of the pandemic. Well, young people did their own, and it was amazing. It was young people from all over the world, and some of them were as young as 6 and 8, but they were so articulate and brilliant. It was just amazing, and what they came up with. Let them, can they lead us, please? Can they be our leaders, please? Oh dear, it was very practical and visionary.
Amazing, thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
you may.
Can you hear me? Sorry, from distance. I wanted to ask Elizabeth, if a goddess temple was built, what would it actually be like as a building?
Okay, well, I very much doubt that we're going to be able to build a pyramid. So I think it's more likely that it's going to be inside an existing building. And we've just been discussing in the Weavers group actually which colour wheel that we would like to use for the year, but the space will transform regularly with the season. So as the seasons change, there'll be different colours in the space, and it will have beautiful images. What we're hoping to bring in is artwork from local artists, so that will be adorning the walls. And there's talk we'd very much like to have a large sculpture for the main altar, which is representing the feminine. There will be candles, and at the moment the space would be COVID safe, so everything would be wiped clean, but we're hoping that once the pandemic has passed, and it will pass, then there'll be lovely fluffy sheepskins and cushions to sit on, so it will be a very welcoming, cozy, kind of fluffy space. But there will be enough space for people to really bring anything emotional that they're carrying into the space. So for me, the thing that makes a temple really special, really holy, is a quality of stillness, and that comes from creating the space with an intention of stillness and sanctity, really. And so the space will also be held. So anytime that there's a drop in, there will be a volunteer who will be holding the space and ensuring that it's safe, and that you know, people are really received and welcomed into the space. They kind of manage health and safety, but they also create a welcoming atmosphere. So there'll be someone to witness you while you're making your prayers.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Well, we're coming to the end of our time together for this evening. It's just been an absolute delight and an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much to everybody for your sharing, for your questions, for your comments. It's just so inspiring to hear the different things that are going on around Stroud. It's just incredible to me. We do have our Facebook group, Stroud Imagines Community. We have the Facebook page and Gmail address, stroudimagines@gmail.com. So if you want to keep in touch, then please do. We'll be keeping in touch with all the people that have shared this evening and just following up to find out how things progress. If you want us to put you in touch, then please do email us and we can put you in touch with any of the speakers. And we just wish you all the best for a fantastic festive season and a welcome into a visionary new year for Stroud for 2021. If you'd all like to unmute yourselves and say your goodbyes.
Thank you so much, Johnny, for organising.
Thank you.
You're really welcome.
Thank you, everybody. Wonderful speakers again.
Bless you.
Bye, everyone. Merry
Lovely
Christmas.
to meet you.
Bye now.
Lovely
Merry midwinter.
Bye.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Merry Christmas from Mother
Thanks,
Christmas.
Flo.
Thanks, Flo. Oh.